Hey, how's it going, people? We're back. I teased this one earlier today. We're going to do something based on um, the sermon I heard this morning at Maple Valley Presbyterian. Give them a free plug. They supported me many, many ways in my life. It was based on Jeremiah 1. We're Old Testament, right now. Jeremiah 1, verses 4 through 10. Read it with me. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Alas, sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak. I am too young. But the Lord said to me, Do not say, I am too young. You must go to everyone I send you to, and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you, and I will rescue you, declares the Lord. Then the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth, and said to me, I have put my words in your mouth. See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms, to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. Here ends the reading of the word. Thanks be to God. Let's kind of break this down some. Think about this for a second. Jeremiah is saying, I am too young. Now, in Jeremiah's time, you could get married at age 15, typically. And if you didn't get married by the age of 15, maybe something was wrong. You know what I mean? Your parents, especially girls, you were married and having children, but by age 15. And he's saying he was too young. So how old was he at this point? That's the first question you kind of wonder about. But in verse 5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Before I formed you in the womb, before you were even conceived, God knew you. God has plans for you. That's huge. Can you imagine God saying that to you? But you know what? He says that to you. He says that to you right here. I formed you in the womb. So God's hand was there. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. God laid that whole plan out before Jeremiah was even conceived. And that's huge. I imagine being told that at age, 15, 16, maybe tops. That's scary. Alas, sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak. I am too young. And again, you can just picture this. And actually, the guy who gave the sermon today, David Miles, he pointed this out because he has a couple of small kids, and I'm a father, so I kind of get it. You just kind of imagine at this point in time, God's taking his excuses away at this point in time. We do that as parents, don't we? We take the excuses of our children away. We give them, we tell them, But the Lord said to me, do not say I am too young. Don't give me that crap. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you, declares the Lord. And that's another thing. Wouldn't you? If you send your kids out there onto the field or into school, and you tell them, I'm going to be there for you. Go do this. This is something you have to do. This is very much the language of a father to a child. Then the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said to me, I have put words into your mouth. That's crazy. So you're telling me that God says he has reached out and put those words into his mouth. I pray all the time for God to put the right words into my mouth, so that when I'm speaking His word, when I'm speaking in His name, that I'm using His words, not mine. And right there is right in here. I'm going to, this is where I'm reading it right here. So I don't know if you can pictures, camera's probably not going to pick it up much, but it's right in these words. And I have put my words into your mouth. See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms, to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overflow, to build and to plant. That's kind of scary stuff right there. Can you imagine saying that to a 15-year-old kid? I appoint you over nations and kingdoms. This is a huge job that God has given to Jeremiah. And we have a job to do. But appoint you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and tear down. What do we uproot and tear down now? In my previous video, I talked about preconceptions people have over Christians. And that's something we need to do. We need to uproot and tear down some of those preconceptions that people have of Christians being stuffy and overbearing and rude and selfish and all these problems that people say that we have. We need to do that. That's something we need to uproot. We need to tear down. To destroy or overthrow these issues out there. We what are the things out there that we as Christians need to do that with? I'm not politics aside. I'm not into any of that kind of talk. But we can take some of this. I mean, if we go back to the time of Jeremiah, and we talk about what kind of situation was he in, and what would Jeremiah do? He was going to go to the leaders of nations and tell them God's word. And I mean, he was 15 years old when he was told this, or less potentially. We need to, as Christians, step up, and in this tradition of using God's words to spread His kingdom. And we need to know His word better. So reading the word, studying the word, studying things like this right here, and realizing that God doesn't send out people who are perfect. He sends out us. We're messed up. We're screwed up people, and He sends us out there. But if we allow God to put His words into our mouths, for His words to come out of us, things will happen properly as according to His plan. If we just do it so that and use our words, that's when the bad things come out. That's when it sounds hateful. When it's us, when we're frustrated and we're mad, that it's like, no, you don't understand. This is like, calm down, say a little prayer, ask God to tell you what to say. And say God's truth. Will work according to His plan. And if it does, that person is probably not going to turn around and say, "Oh, you're right. Why wasn't I seeing this ever before?" You're right, Cameron. I totally see what you're saying now. Yeah, now I'm going to follow Christ. Probably not going to happen. But what you'll do is you'll plant little seeds. And you'll use God's word into their life, and it'll just kind of work its way into what's going on. And He'll send another person out there, and He'll send another person in their lives, and He'll send another person into their lives, and it will work. These people, you may not even know them when they turn to Christ, but oftentimes, if that's God's will, they will turn. And He keeps sending you. How do I know? Because He sent you there. He keeps sending other people. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble now. I always do. But hey, God bless everybody. No music today because I got home from church and relaxed for a little bit, and It's Sunday afternoon, and watched a little bit of TV with my wife. Took a nap. That was really nice. But it's getting hot, and it's summertime, and so I'm going to sign off. God bless every one of you.